Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to talk to you about the future of Kingdom Come Deliverance, the possibilities of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or not, and what Warhorse might actually be planning. Now, over the past week or so, Daniel Vavra and members of the Warhorse development team have been posting photographs of the staff at Warhorse wearing medieval armor from the 15th century, tables loaded up with swords and clothing and armor. In the background of one of those photographs was a whiteboard, and on that whiteboard it said KCD 2-1506, and many people speculated, and even myself thought, oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 set in 1506. Well, that would be interesting. But it turns out no. Toby from Warhorse has confirmed that this was just a code for people at the team to add feedback and ask questions about the armor and what they were working on. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is officially not in development. But what is happening? Now, I've been looking on Twitter for a number of months. I've been following Daniel Vavra and Toby and others at Warhorse, and they've been posting photographs of development for a game. Now, it would be easy to assume it would be for the future of Kingdom Come Deliverance. In July of last year, Daniel Vavra posted a photograph on his phone of a model of Trotsky Castle. Now we know Trotsky Castle is where Henry and Hans are sent to at the end of Kingdom Come Deliverance. So it would be easy to assume at that point that this is a development model being prepared for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But now that it's been confirmed that it's not the case, it must be for something else. So then in September, Daniel Vavra posted a photograph of design department location scouting. So they were doing a location scouting for somewhere they hadn't actually been in Kingdom Come Deliverance. So could this be for DLC? Could it be for a sequel? Could it be for a completely new map? We know from the DLCs that we've had so far and that are coming out, they're all on the same map for Kingdom Come Deliverance. So this is obviously for either another game, or it's for a bigger DLC that hasn't been announced yet. But then in November, Daniel Vavra posted another photograph of another castle, and this is in South Bohemia. It's Svivkov Castle, which is at the junction of the Vltava and Otava rivers. This is interesting, as the fortifications were so strong that the Hussites failed to take it after a 4-month siege during the Hussite Wars. So this castle is at the centre of a major battle, or at least a confrontation between two warring factions. So we know from these photographs that Warhorse are currently in development of a game set in another part of the Czech Republic that isn't Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Potentially is for Kingdom Come Deliverance DLC that's been unannounced, but I think that's unlikely. What was also noticed in the photographs that was posted on Twitter last week were tables of weapons, swords, armor, clothing. On that table was a pouch. I had a look around the internet. I suspected what it was to begin with, but basically it's a pouch for holding gunpowder, which you'd use to funnel into a matchlock rifle or a cannon or some other kind of early medieval gun. Was also on one of these tables, and in a close-up photograph was a hook gun. Now, hook guns were used on battlements as the hook was useful for balancing on walls, but these later became handheld firearms by the late 1400s. So, since we know that the photographs that were posted on Twitter by Daniel Avra of location scouting, pictures of different castles, Trotsky and Zhivkov, and also that him stating that these aren't for Kingdom Come Deliverance, we have to ask ourselves, what are they for? Now, in another tweet, for the life of me, I can't find, Daniel Vavra is debating with someone about the controversies that surrounded Kingdom Come Deliverance when it was first released, mostly around the fact that it was full of white people. There were no ethnic minorities of any kind, no black people, anything like that, which caused a lot of controversy at the time. Even people questioning that why certain factions weren't included in the game. Daniel's argument was that these people just weren't around at the time of the game, and he would have liked to have included them, but it was at a different time period. Now, we know from the game's early development that Kingdom Come Deliverance had a much larger scope. Henry wasn't a blacksmith peasant. He was a battle-hardened noble who was sent off on quests to solve problems, investigate things, for instance, that were in Kingdom Come Deliverance, like the attack on the stables at Neuhof. In the early footage of the game, you can see large-scale battles, including tens, if not hundreds, of armoured soldiers, knights on horseback. They were all there. But what we do know is that Warhorse struggled at the beginning of development to get backing, to get money to do all of this, which is why they resorted to Kickstarter to get the money from people that wanted to see this game developed. Now, it's obvious that in the 6 years of development and the release of the game, a lot of these things changed. There were none of these large-scale battles. There were fights, the Battle of Pribyslavich, the Siege of Talmberg. They were there, but not on the scale that we saw early on. There were no horseback fighting, nothing like that. But I think this is what they've got planned. They may not have had the budget then, but they probably do now. So the photographs that Daniel Vavra has posted on Twitter would suggest to me that they are setting the game during the Hussite Wars, with maybe some loose connections to Kingdom Come Deliverance, but I'll get back to that. Reason why I say this, the two castles that he took pictures of, Zhivkov and Trotsky, they are at the centre of the Hussite Wars. Zhivkov Castle was under siege for 4 months by the Hussites, but was never taken. Trotsky Castle was the centre of pro-Catholic sides, probably not completely conquered by the Hussites. In 1428 was burned down, later under siege by Jan Krilovich of the Taborite army, who was one of the factions on the Hussite side. Now, the Hussites war began in 1419 with the killing of Jan Hus and lasted until 1434. So, it falls into that timeline. Also, there are a large number of belligerents in this war. The Hussites, you've got the Hussite coalition until 1423, Taborites, Prague Hussites, Oberites, Hussites of Zatek and Launi, Bohemian Hussite nobility, the list goes on. And they're up against the Holy Roman Empire, the papacy, different duchies, Lower Silesia, Upper Silesia, Lusatia. The list goes on. Electoral Palatinate, Duchy of Austria. it's such a long list. You can look this up on Wikipedia. Papal States, Order of Malta, or what was originally the Knights Hospitallers, Teutonic Order, Kingdom of England. This game would be massive. This war is huge. But obviously on Warhorse's early budget, that just would not have been possible. But the potential is amazing. The armor, the type of peoples involved. It's just, the mind boggles what could be achieved with this. But the connections to Kingdom Come Deliverance, well, Trotsky Castle, that was mentioned in the game. There's also possibly a loose connection with Konrad Kiesa. Konrad Kiesa, as you know in the game, is sought by Henry to help with the siege of Talmberg Castle. He helps him build a trebuchet. Now, as we all know, that took a while to be built. And, destruction of Talmberg would have been quicker, or the siege of Talmberg would have been quicker if they'd had gunpowder cannons. Now, gunpowder was around at the time, but wasn't used in this part of the conflict. Whether that's historically accurate, it probably is, knowing Daniel Wavra and his need for this game to be historically accurate, and I'm so glad it was. But later on, I would be surprised if gunpowder wasn't used during the Hussite Wars. And in 1402 to 1404, Konrad Kiesa was writing his manuscript, De Bella Fortis. This was commissioned by Wenceslas IV, but was dedicated to Rupert, King of Germany, when it was completed in 1404. But in that book, he talks about gunpowder weapons. And even during the siege of Talmberg, he wants to use explosives to end the siege of Talmberg, but I'm pretty sure Sir Radzig wouldn't have been too pleased if it had been blown up during the game. And we all know that didn't happen. But it's interesting that a character from Kingdom Come Deliverance is talking about gunpowder, and we see gunpowder weapons and accessories in these photographs being of new developers and programmers being brought up to speed by the team at Warhorse. It would suggest to me that this is where the game is headed. So what do you think? That's all for me. For now, I could go into a lot more depth, but there's so much. I've read so much already, but couldn't possibly do the history justice by getting it right in one of these videos. Potentially I'm going to get a few bits wrong, but that's the basic thing I think we're looking at. Warhorse are looking at something on a grander scale, looking at a bigger conflict with a lot more emphasis on different factions, different weapons, larger scale combat, sieges, gunpowder. Oh, this is going to be great if this is what they're doing, and I really hope it is. When do we expect an announcement? Probably not until after A Woman's Lot is released. So let's see. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I've not bored you to death, and I hope to be making more videos about Kingdom Come Deliverance and its future in the weeks to come. Thank you.